Did our debrief, flew home. On the way home, they're like, guys, really good job tonight. You get 2 days off. Like, what? We showed up we landed back at the beach, right? Nobody ever meets you when you come home from deployment, but half the command was standing there with pizza and beer. And of course, the Navy bus. Get on the Navy bus, back to the base. Why
was bin Laden's body thrown into the ocean?
I don't know who made that decision. It was somebody way above my pay grade. I agree with it. I like it.
You agree with it?
Yeah.
Why?
We turned over the body to some Army counterparts, some Army Rangers, and they're the ones who flew it all the way out to the carrier and dumped it. I like it because it's there's no shrine, no memorial. He's just simply gone. There's even Al Qaeda has not said, hey, he's still alive and we've got him. Like, prove you've got him. He's gone. Done. Erased. Deleted. Never to be seen again.
Right on.
I kind of like that, right? If there was some memorial or, shrine to where they buried him, maybe that would be a little different. I don't know.
Makes sense. But it also created a lot of conspiracy theories, but,
Government's got the photos. They can release them. They can do whatever they want.
Was that photo? There was a photo that was circulating around. That was bullshit. You didn't take that photo? No. All right.
Any of the stuff online is not accurate. It's all.
So we were talking about, the helo ride back where you got to think about putting a bullet in bin Laden. Now,
I think everybody processed it when we landed in Bagram, right? We landed in Bagram, we did our debrief, and then we left the hangar, right? Downloaded all our gear, like we were flying back a couple hours later. So literally debrief, download. Okay, all that was done, and we had a couple hours. And we went to some of the old area that we could hang out at Bagram, and hung out there, and there were some TVs that guys were turning on, and that's where the story was breaking in the States, right? Like bin Laden Obama had given his spiel, right? There's the stuff, university's going crazy. There was some like ticker tape at like a baseball game or something. All these things were breaking. And I would say that was the first time everybody sat in the room and was like, take a breath. I hadn't had a chance to do that until then, right? We still getting back. We still had something to do. We just got done. Like now it's out. Only thing you're waiting for is a plane ride home, and you got a couple hours to kill. And we all went into like this area and just hung out, watched some TV until like, all right, guys, plane's ready. And then we hopped the flight. They, you typically stop in Germany. We air-to-air refueled on the way home, flew all the way back to the beach, landed, and good job, guys. 2 days off. I went to work both days because what do you do when the world has just exploded in such a way, right? And you're going to go hang out at home and feel like you're normal? No way. Everybody showed up at work, right? I see one of my good friends. I went to Green Team with him. Spent 8 years. I saw him more than I saw my family, right? I see him 2 days after the mission in our cage area at the command. I'm like, hey, Pat, are you... He looks at me. He's like, hey, man, can I ask you a question? Yeah, what do you got, dude? He looks around, makes sure nobody else is there, and he's like, hey, are you sleeping? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not sleeping. I haven't slept in days. He's like, okay. All right, good. I feel normal. That was the single most emotional conversation I ever had with any teammate in 14 years.
No shit.
That was it. Are you sleeping? Nobody nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about mental health or how you were doing. There was none of that. It was, so that was 2 days after the mission. One of my best friends like, hey man, are you sleeping? Cause I'm not. I'm like, fuck no, I'm not sleeping. He's like, okay, good. I feel normal too.
Fuck, man.
It was a lot. It was crazy, right? And the media just hypes it up and makes it want to be crazier. And it was us just doing it. Yes, it was a very historical, significant event. I get it. I'm more proud of the Captain Phillips stuff, and I wasn't even one of the shooters, right? We saved somebody, not just killed a whole bunch of knuckleheads. I get that bin Laden's a significant figure. I'm not knocking it. But it was, it was a lot. It's a lot. All the stuff SEALs training gives you, right? We can go sniper, shoot, homemade bombs, all the stuff we've been trained to do. Not 1 second. And hey, what do you do if your friend gets shot in the face? What do you do if you do a Bin Laden mission and it's fucking you up at home and you can't sleep? Nothing. So, yeah, it's tough.
Damn, man.
Right, if you're always going to revert to your training,
yeah.
In a bad situation, there was no training to revert to. It was just, man, the right from my first deployment to that, lots of missions in between. And right, how are you evolving, adapting? What was changing in between that? I saw it all change, man. I saw from the beginning to the end. Yeah, it was tough. Not any of that. Not any section, not any second in there was any leadership ever worrying about the individual operator. Brand new, everybody was excited to be there. Right, okay, 8th deployment, 9th deployment, 10th deployment. Nobody was ever checking in. Like, hey, Sean, are you okay? Yeah, another 12 divorces in the squadron last year. Your family okay? Nobody ever asked that. Nobody once ever said, hey, your family okay? Your kids okay? Are you home enough? No way. And then if you did mention, hey, I got some stuff going on at home, it's like, oh boy, we're losing Biss. So it was the expectation and the pressure, certainly at my former command, grew and grew and grew. And with the success of Captain Phillips, and then with the success of Bin Laden, all of this, the expectation was, okay, you're going to be fine. And if I'm the officer in charge, we're going to do all this great stuff. I'm going to look good, and I don't have to worry about the side effect it's having on my crew. But yeah, and then shortly after the Bin Laden raid and all the high of that, we had extortion. And you want to talk about a gut punch, right? That was crushing.
How long after the raid was extortion?
What, August? To May to August.
Couple of months.
Yeah. Heavy. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of one of the final straws for me, right? I knew my enlistment was coming up in December. I had been talking about, I didn't like the decisions being made in Afghanistan, taking away our dogs, saying no night missions, all this nonsense. I had joined and stayed in because of 9/11, and I did all these deployments, and I saw all this change happening throughout this stretch. And as the longer I stayed in, the more I saw our leadership, right, was promoted based off writing their own awards and the number of missions they ran, not how they took care of their guys or evolved what we were doing, right? Name a general or an admiral in Afghanistan who said the way we were doing it was wrong and survived. There aren't any. There's not one. There's no leadership in our military who said, hey, the approach we have in Afghanistan is wrong. We should be doing this. No, you're relieved, and we're going to bring in another yes man to deliver my policy of what I want you to do. And so I just kept seeing more and more of that. And yeah, I knew that the leadership, whether Panetta, Admiral McRaven, President Obama, all giving interviews and all their stuff for their own hype. And that's what finally hit me. And that's where I was like,
disgusted you.
Yeah.
What was McRaven's position at the time?
I don't care about that guy. I could give two shits about McRaven.
Was he, I mean, what was he though?
He was commander of JSOC.
He was the JSOC commander. Okay.
Yeah. You know, I'll just put it this way. McRaven was at the command years ago, right? Before he was the commanding officer. He was not well liked at all. Everybody always saw him as a horrible boss, at least from my level, my perspective only. He gave it when he left the squadron. He like had this big plaque made that hung in the team room for years. Years later, he becomes the position he was in. Nobody liked him. Nobody liked the position he was in. He was very involved in trying to take away the dogs and the night missions and all the stuff that helped keep us safe on these very dangerous missions. So I may or may not have been there when his plaque was removed from the team room wall. We cut it in half. We shipped it overseas to a forward operating base in Afghanistan that we were working out of, and we burnt it in the fire pit. Now, we can keep going with the McRaven references here because I'm not a fan, right? You know, I wrote No Easy Day. Right?
Hold on, before we get there, we'll get there.
Yep,
I know we got a lot to cover there. Just want to rewind just a little bit. Yep. You know, how long was it after the Bin Laden raid to where you left the Navy?
The raid was in May. I got out in December, end of December, January 1st. Or on to terminal leave.
7 months. When did you decide you were getting out? How fast did you know this is it?
I'd been talking about getting out before my last deployment. I told you we came home from the last deployment, and 10 days later we were spinning up on the Bin Laden thing. So I'd been talking to a lot of my guys on that deployment because that deployment had slowed down. All the new rules were kicking in that were making it more dangerous for us. And I, as somebody who'd been there this whole time, was looking at this and like, this doesn't seem right. Like, we're going backwards here. And I was getting very frustrated with how we were going backwards. I'd lived through the beginning. I'd seen all the ups and downs. And here we were at the end, and I felt like we were going backwards. Right? I was not an officer. I was an enlisted guy who stayed there and operated the entire time. Right? Our officers bounce in and out and back and forth. I was there. So I saw a lot of changes. And the more changes I saw, the less and the more senior and the more mature I got, and the older I got, and the more dead friends I earned or gained, I was like, man, maybe I'm not putting myself in the healthiest position here, being sent to war by some of these idiots. And so I was very open and honest with my team that, hey, I don't know about this. So when I got back from that deployment, probably after the Bin Laden mission now, but that's when I went and sat down with my master chief, and I was like, hey, I need a break. Right? I was done and operational in the squadron. I was no longer staying there. I'd done, very few guys stayed there that long. They're like, okay, you got to move out of the squadron and go do something different now. I'm like, okay, well, I need a break for 18 months. If I'm leaving the squadron, give me a break. And that's when they were like, no, the only other billet we're going to give you is an operational billet at a different squadron. I was like, okay, well, if those are my options, if you're my master chief telling me my only option is this, okay, thank you for that clarity. I already knew what was going on at the senior ranks and in the military and what was going on in Afghanistan, and I saw them making it more dangerous for us doing our jobs. I was like, why am I going to continue to volunteer for these knuckleheads?
Well, I mean, what did the other guys think? Were they on the same page as you?
Depends on where your enlistment is. You know the deal, right? Are you at 16 years? Are you at 20? You know, how close are you to that retirement? Right? I never joined for retirement, right? I joined because I wanted to serve, and then I stayed. And then I just stayed and stayed and stayed because there was a war going on and very few of us were doing it, so I stayed. I didn't stay for the paycheck. You know there's not much paycheck there. Retirement, right? I could do 20 years and retire at the same amount the trombone player in the Navy band does 20 years and retires, right? So it's not about the money. Like I said, I got out with a plaque with my name misspelled. That's all I got. So it's never been about, I don't know what it's been about, but it hasn't been about, it was time for me. Yeah. The other guys that I worked with, you know, maybe they're sitting at 16 years. I was at 14. Maybe they have 2 years left on their enlistment that gets them to 18. And then, you know, they were trying to get us all with the big enlistment bonuses at 19 years. If you stayed at 25, we'll give you some big money, tax free. So they were definitely courting a lot of the guys at that level. And the hook is, if you do pass 10, well, why not stay till 20 and get your retirement? Mm-hmm. Right? I was at 14. Why not stay 6 more? Well, what are the odds I make it 6? It's pretty good odds I made it at 14 based off the amount of friends that aren't here, right? What are the odds I make it another 6? And then these 6 years, I'm not going to be operational where I like. You're going to put me in the leadership with all these clowns that I don't trust and respect now. I'm out.
Fucking A, man. Damn.